for 3 months. 4 months into a marriage, I'm in rehab for 3 months.
Keith Urban was born on October 26, 1967, in New Zealand. A boy with wide eyes and trembling hands, growing up in a house filled with uncertainty. His family moved to Queensland when he was 2, chasing a better life. But the hope never fully arrived. By the time he was 9, fire consumed his home. Photographs curled into ash, toys melted into blackened shapes, and the familiar walls were reduced to rubble. Keith stood amidst the smoke, the heat and the stench, a harsh reminder of the fragility of everything he had ever known. Neighbors rushed in with boxes of clothes and whispered gentle words, gestures of kindness that offered solace. However temporary, his father, Robert Urban, was a musician with a gift for song and a penchant for chaos. Alcohol shadowed his love, leaving absence where affection should have been. Words of encouragement were rare, almost non-existent, and the boy learned early that life could be brutal. Yet even in this harshness, a small beacon appeared. A sign taped to the window of his father's shop sought a guitar teacher for Keith. That led to Sue McCarthy, the first person to see the potential within him. By 4, he strummed a ukulele. By 6, the guitar became both companion and refuge. Music was not a hobby. It was survival. It was the one language through which he could express everything he could not speak. Nicole Kidman entered the world a few months earlier, on June 20th, 1967, in Honolulu, Hawaii. Born to Anthony and Janelle Kidman, her childhood was one of structure, discipline, and intellect. Her parents valued education, stability, and propriety. Yet Nicole carried a storm within her, a stutter that silenced her words and convinced her that she did not belong. Ballet became her secret escape, a language in which she could communicate without sound, without judgment. On stage, she was no longer invisible. She could command attention, be seen and heard without words. By 14, Nicole appeared in Bush Christmas, and by 16, she left traditional schooling to pursue acting full-time. The world of Hollywood was intimidating, and she often felt isolated. Yet her early struggles became the foundation of empathy and depth she would bring to every role. Every pause, every hesitant glance became a tool that allowed her to inhabit characters with uncanny authenticity. Keith's adolescence was a mix of survival and ambition. Smoke-filled pubs, rickety stages, and small-town fairs became the crucible in which he honed his craft. By 8, strangers shouted over his playing, daring him to continue, and he did. His first band, The Ranch, offered him fleeting success, but the band eventually dissolved, leaving him with nothing but persistence. In 1992, he made the bold move to Nashville, a city full of competition, empty rooms, and harsh judgment. He sold songs, played background guitar, and faced rejection after rejection, each one a reminder that the road to success was not easy. By 1999, his self-titled American debut emerged, and But for the Grace of God climbed the charts, marking the beginning of his rise to fame. His career surged from there. Somebody Like You in 2002 shattered records. Be Here in 2004 solidified his place in country music, and awards began to pile up: Grammys, ACMs, and KAS accolades. But while his public life flourished, private struggles persisted. Addiction shadowed him, and the trauma of his early years haunted every note he played. Music was both therapy and armor, the force that allowed him to survive when the world seemed too cruel. Meanwhile, Nicole's career ascended alongside her personal challenges. Her marriage to Tom Cruise introduced her to love and heartbreak. Miscarriages followed, and she later adopted Isabella and Connor, trying to balance fame and family. Divorce left her feeling erased and adrift, yet she poured every ounce of pain into her craft. In The Hours, she disappeared into the psyche of Virginia Woolf, a role demanding emotional intensity and delicate nuance. Later, in Big Little Lies and Being the Ricardos, Nicole showcased the depth and resilience that defined both her life and her career. By 2005, both Keith and Nicole had weathered storms of their own. Keith was battling addiction and ghosts of childhood. Nicole was recovering from a marriage and striving to redefine herself. Their paths crossed at a Hollywood event in January, and something unspoken passed between them: recognition, understanding, and the quiet knowledge of survival. Keith waited months before calling, and when he did, a bond formed, fragile yet profound, far from the glare of the public eye. On June 25, 2006, they married in a candlelit ceremony in Sydney. To the world, it was a fairy tale. For Keith, it was salvation. The joy of marriage was tested almost immediately. 4 months later, he relapsed. Nicole staged an intervention, surrounded him with love, friends, and medical help, insisting that he reclaim his life. Keith entered rehab and began the long journey back to stability. In 2008, their first daughter, Sunday Rose, was born. In 2010, Faith Margaret arrived through surrogacy. Motherhood, once fraught with fear and loss, became a source of joy. They built a family life amidst 2 demanding careers, balancing award shows and studio time with quiet mornings and bedtime stories. Their love was not without struggles. Arguments, exhaustion, and the weight of public scrutiny challenged them. Yet they found victory in the small, everyday moments: guitar sessions in the kitchen, pancake breakfasts, walks holding hands in silence. Life, however, remained unpredictable. Wildfires in 2020 threatened their home. Illness and loss touched family and friends. Grief tested the foundations of their marriage. The world was always watching, always judging, and even a strong bond had limits. By 2024, cracks appeared. Keith moved out of the Nashville home. Nicole attended events alone. Whispers became undeniable truths. On September 30th, 2025, Nicole filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. The financial details were complex, estates exceeding $250 million, but the true cost was immeasurable. The dissolution of a life built together, a home filled with laughter and love, now echoing with absence. Both grieved quietly, each honoring the other's presence while acknowledging that devotion alone could not sustain their relationship. Despite the separation, the legacy of their union endured. For 19 years, they transformed pain into creation. Music, cinema, and family became monuments to resilience. The wedding ring on the table, the family photos turned face down, the piano gathering dust. All reminders that love can endure, even when it changes form. Keith and Nicole had not simply shared a marriage. They built an empire of survival, empathy, and artistry. Keith's music became both personal catharsis and global inspiration. Nicole's performances translated inner fragility into strength that resonated across screens. Their story was one of triumph over adversity, proof that love could save, inspire, and leave lasting echoes even after the story changes. They endured heartbreak, addiction, loss, and public scrutiny. Yet both emerged not broken, but transformed. Keith continued to release music that reflected both his pain and his redemption. Nicole continued to inhabit characters that demanded vulnerability and courage. Their daughters grew up witnessing resilience modeled in silence, understanding that love and loss could coexist, that family could survive beyond the boundaries of marriage. In the quiet moments, the mornings with coffee, the shared glances in crowded rooms, the music that drifted across empty houses, remained the truth of what they had built. Not perfection, not unending bliss, but authenticity. A love forged in fire and tempered through hardship. A connection that left a permanent imprint on both their lives and the millions who watched from afar. Keith Urban and Nicole Kidman's story was not about the fairy tale, the red carpet, or the headlines. It was about endurance, the human capacity to love, to heal, to create meaning from chaos. Music, film, family, and the quiet courage to face the next day became the legacy they left behind. Even as their marriage ended, the echoes of their love continued, subtle but undeniable, proof that true connection does not vanish. It transforms. Their lives, individually and together, remain a testament to the power of resilience, the necessity of passion, and the beauty of imperfection. Through fire, loss, and silence, they became beacons of strength, showing that survival is not just about existing, but about creating something enduring, something beautiful, and something profoundly human. Profoundly human.